Hello everyone, you're watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali and I'll be taking you through top news across Canada.
Police ID man fatally shot in parking lot of North York Shopping Centre. Doug Ford pledges to hike speed limits on all 400 series highways where it is safe to do so. Oshawa man charged falling cross-border drug gun parts smuggling investigation. Toronto police search for suspect in East End stabbing. Israel has right to defend itself, but wider war must be avoided, Trudeau. Vehicle thefts down by more than 30% in New York region, but carjackings are up, police. Toronto police search for suspect in East End stabbing.
These were the headlines. Now let's jump right into the details.
Toronto police have identified a man fatally shot in North York earlier this week. Police said 26-year-old Joey Omar Black was found shot in the parking lot of a shopping center near Allen Road and Lawrence Avenue West just before midnight on Monday. He was transported to the hospital but was later pronounced dead. Black is the city's 68th homicide victim of the year. Police have not released suspect information in the case. The shooting was one of 4 homicides that took place in the Greater Toronto area over a 24-hour span. A man was also fatally stabbed to the area of St. Clair Avenue West and Jane Street. On Wednesday, Toronto Police Chief Marion Demkew said his service is committed to doing everything we can to prevent further tragedies. We are working tirelessly and have increased our presence in the neighborhoods most affected by gun violence, the chief said, noting that police have made 746 firearm-related arrests so far this year and seized 671 guns. Demkew said that while numbers show an increase in gun violence from last year, the figures remain on par when compared to pre-pandemic years. That said, I am always hesitant to talk about statistics because we must acknowledge the pain and trauma that families feel as a result of gun violence, and this pain impacts generations, the chief said. These numbers do not bring people back. Anyone with the information is asked to contact police at 416-808-7400, Crime Stoppers anonymously at 416-222-TIPS-8477, or at www.222tips.com. Motorists will soon be allowed to drive their vehicle at 110 kilometers per hour on all 400 series highways across the province, says Ontario Premier Doug Ford. On Wednesday, Ford announced that he's directed Minister of Transportation Prabmeet Sarkaria to raise the limit to 110 kilometers where it is safe to do so on all 400 series highways in Ontario. I'm going to repeat that, where it is safe to do so, he said during a Wednesday morning news conference on the construction of the new Ontario line. Ford emphasized that in considering the change, he is looking to experts, to the Minister of Transportation and the OPP for guidance as they understand where you can go 110 and where you can go 100 kilometers. So safety comes first over anything, and then we'll work on the rest, Ford said. But wouldn't it be great if we could even get over 50 kilometers an hour on the 401 in rush hour through the city? Like, that would be incredible if we could get over that. Sarkaria said the initial 110 km per hour speed limit plan was piloted in 2019 and received very positive reviews. We are working with our team of engineers to see on behalf of the Premier's direction to continue expanding that. It's about making sure that those people are on the road that are respecting the laws, that they can get to where they need to go in a faster, easier way, he said. Adding at the same time, the province has introduced some of the hardest penalties for anybody involved in careless driving, whether it be stunt driving and also unimpaired driving. In 2022, the province permanently increase the speed limit from 100 kilometers per hour to 110 kilometers per hour on 6 sections of 400 series highways in Ontario. In late July, it was upped along several additional stretches of highways 401 and 403 in southern and northern Ontario, as well as parts of the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, including a 35-kilometer stretch of Highway 401 from Highway 35 115 to Cobourg and Highway 401 from Colborne to Belleville, approximately 44 kilometers. From Belleville to Kingston, approximately 66 kilometers. From Highway 16 to Quebec, boundary approximately 107 kilometers, and Tilbury extending the existing 110 kilometers per hour zone east by 7 kilometers per hour. Highway 416 from Highway 401 to Ottawa, approximately 70 kilometers, and Highway 69 from Sudbury to French River, approximately 60 kilometers, were also increased to 110 kilometers per hour. A 24-year-old man from Oshawa is facing numerous charges following an investigation into the smuggling of drugs and prohibited weapon parts across the Canada-US border. Last May, the Canada Border Service Agency, CBSA, launched an investigation after border agents thwarted several attempts to smuggle legal firearms parts into Canada. As a result, on September 4th, the CBSA and the Durham Regional Police Services Tactical Support Unit executed search warrants at 2 homes in Oshawa. During those raids, authorities said they seized equipment that formed a clandestine narcotics lab, such as pill and drug brick presses, baggies, weight scales, vacuum sealers, and baking soda, as well as unspecified quantities of MDMA, cocaine, oxycodone, methamphetamine, traces of fentanyl, and illicit drug additives. Investigators said that they also located and seized several overcapacity magazines, magazine catch and release devices, 10-round magazines and suppressor, a firearm conversion kit, a weapon-mounted flashlight, 46 rounds of munition, multiple cell phones, SIM cards, a computer, more than $23,800. Cameron Williams, 24 of Oshawa, was arrested and is facing 18 smuggling drug and firearms, parts possession, and unauthorized importation offenses. His next court appearance is scheduled for October 24th. Toronto police have released a photo of a suspect wanted in an East End stabbing in July that left one man injured. Police were called to the area of Danforth and Greenwood Avenues just before 2:30 a.m. on July 17 for a stabbing. Investigators learned that 2 people in a restaurant stepped outside and got into an altercation. During that time, one of them allegedly stabbed the other with an edged weapon. Police said the suspect fled while the victim went back inside the restaurant to seek help. The victim was subsequently taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. On Wednesday, police described the suspect as 5'9" to 6 foot tall with short hair and was last seen wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt, dark pants, black shoes, and dark baseball hat. They're asking anyone who knows the identity of the suspect to contact them at 416-808-5500 or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 416-222-TIPS-8477. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau condemned Iran's missile attack on Israel Wednesday, but said the international community must do everything it can to help avoid a bigger regional war. Exchanges of fire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon over the last year erupted into broader violence in the last week as Israel ramped up its campaign against Hezbollah by air and Tuesday began sending in ground troops. Also on Tuesday, Iran launched some 200 ballistic missiles at Israel and warned of a harsher attack if Israel responds in kind. It is further destabilizing action by this terrorist regime in the region, putting civilians at risk, running the risk of a wider war, Trudeau said after speaking with his G7 counterparts in a joint call Wednesday morning. Officials in Washington said U.S. destroyers assisted in Israel's defense, while the UK Defense Secretary said British forces played a part but did not specify what. Defense Minister Bill Blair said Canadian forces were not involved at all. Trudeau said in his call with other G7 leaders, all agreed the international community must do everything it can to achieve peace and stability in the region. That includes reiterating calls for a ceasefire and pushing for a two-state solution where both Israel and Palestinian state can exist safely. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who holds the rotating presidency of the G7, maintains that a diplomatic solution is still possible. Earlier in the day, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres told an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council that in just a week, the alarming situation in Lebanon has gone from bad to much, much worse and called for an end to the hostilities. Canada's Foreign Minister Melanie Joly acknowledged Wednesday that Israel has already vowed that Iran would face severe consequences for its attack and that it would retaliate. The rapid escalation in the conflict comes just days before the one-year anniversary of the October 7 Hamas attack that saw 1,200 people killed and 250 taken hostage in Israel. The attack sparked immediate retaliation from Israel in the besieged Gaza Strip, where tens of thousands have since been reported dead and millions have been displaced. The international community has harbored concerns that the Israel-Hamas war would lead to a broader regional conflict in the Middle East for the last year. With the massive increase in hostilities in Lebanon and the latest attack on Israel from Iran, those fears are coming true. Israeli airstrikes have been reported in the recent days in Gaza to the south, Lebanon to the north, and Syria to the east. Joly once again called on Canadians who are still in Lebanon to accept help to leave the country. Since Friday, Global Affairs Canada has been helping citizens book plane tickets out of Lebanon. So far, more than 400 Canadians have left through the airport in the Lebanese capital of Beirut, and roughly 300 more were due to leave on the next flights, Joly said. All the flights are destined for Istanbul. Joly's department estimates there are as many as 45,000 Canadians in Lebanon and has warned in the past that Canada may not be able to help them escape if commercial flights are grounded. The government has been preparing a possible evacuation plan for months. Still, many of the seats the government has offered on flights out of Lebanon remain vacant, Joly said, begging those who are offered a seat to take it. I know it's difficult to leave your loved ones, she said. Please, this is about your own safety and the safety of your loved ones. The chief of the York Regional Police says there has been 31% reduction in the number of vehicle thefts year over year, calling the decrease a silver lining in what is still a bad news story. During the launch of Operation Auto Guard 2.0, York Regional Police Chief Jim McSween said there have been 2,440 vehicles stolen in the region so far this year, down from 3,460 at this time last year. He said last year's campaign of the same name resulted in the recovery of 80 vehicles worth an estimated total of $5 million. We know that combating these extensive criminal activities will take more than one campaign, more than one police service, and more than one approach, McSween said. The brazen and violent nature of auto theft has escalated due to the involvement of more organized crime, which has extended its reach of these criminals beyond our borders. He noted that vehicles are being stolen from crowded parking lots and thieves are stealing vehicles from residential driveways in mere seconds. They work in teams to scout out vehicles in advance as their criminal organizations arrange delivery to overseas locations to complete the lucrative illegal circle, the chief added. He said despite a drop in the number of thefts, carjackings are on the rise. Last month, York Regional Police confirmed that there has been a 106% increase in the number of carjackings in the region. Police said the latest campaign to combat auto theft involves targeted enforcement and community engagement. Crime analysts have developed heat maps, McQueen said, to pinpoint the neighborhoods that are most prone to vehicle thefts. Officers, he added, plan to go door to door in those neighborhoods to speak with homeowners about how to prevent auto theft, including adding GPS tracker to vehicles and steering wheel locks. Adding home security cameras and additional lighting can also deter auto theft, McSween said. To prevent carjackings, McSween noted that drivers should always drive with their doors locked, park in well-lit areas, and call 911 or drive to a police station if you suspect you are being followed by thieves. He said officers will also be doing outreach at local malls and will hand out Faraday bags, which block electromagnetic signals to prevent car thieves from copying key fob information. Toronto police have released a photo of a suspect wanted in an East End stabbing in July that left one man injured. Police were called to the area of Danforth and Greenwood Avenues just before 2:30 a.m. on July 17 for a stabbing. Investigators learned that two people in a restaurant stepped outside and got into an altercation. During that time, one of them allegedly stabbed the other with an edged weapon. Police said the suspect fled while the victim went back inside the restaurant to seek help. The victim was subsequently taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. On Wednesday, police described the suspect as 5'9" to 6 foot tall, with short hair, and was last seen wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt, dark pants, black shoes, and dark baseball hat. They are asking anyone who knows the identity of the suspect to contact them at 416-828-5500 or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 416-222-TIPS 8477.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.